Yeah, thank you very much, dear Professor Gross, dear President Monti, dear Professor Tirol, Professor Fust, and also greeting to our host, Dr. Arnold, today from the Bavarian representation. It's a pleasure to be here. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, let me first extend to you the warmest greetings of my commissioner, Ms. Iliana Ivanova. She can unfortunately not be here today, and she has asked me to represent her, and it is an honor for me to share the panel with such renowned academics and policymakers, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to discuss with you on the report on EU innovation policy and the middle technology trap. For everyone who has read the paper, but also for anyone who knows anything about research and innovation policy in the EU, it's indeed a truly relevant, highly relevant question for the future competitiveness, standard of living, productivity, economic growth, employment, in one word, our future prosperity. So it is indeed an important issue for the Commission, and we are interested in any analysis, evaluation, and debate on how to make Europe the place in the world for breakthrough innovation and deep tech. So you have our attention. In fact, we are ourselves currently going through a continuous process of analysis and evaluation of the previous framework program, Horizon 2020. The ex post evaluation on that was completed at the end of January. Then an independent expert group is currently doing an interim evaluation of Horizon Europe, the current framework program. And we expect the results of this evaluation towards the autumn. And we also had just last month the implementation report on the Innovation Council, and there are other evaluations going on in the field. And all of these analyses contribute to the evidence based on which the Commission can make adjustments and improvements to the programs. And my commissioner, when she was at the parliamentary hearings before she came into office only about half a year ago in September, she made it very clear that she will want to be and be seen to be the guardian of efficient and effective spending in research and innovation, and of course across her entire portfolio. Therefore, she has a strong interest in using some of the evidence coming from the evaluations for improvements and adjustments or pilot actions already now in the current framework program. And some of this may well also affect still the EIC in the current framework program. Other parts of the analysis will only inform then the proposals for the next framework program, FP10. And here, the fact that the mandate of the Commission, of the current Commission, will fairly soon come to an end, and that the proposals for the programs under the next multi-annual financial framework will be presented by the next Commission. This situation clearly limits what I can say today on the future framework program or implications to be drawn from what is on the table today. So it's a disclaimer. It means that I will be, as also President Monti said, mostly in the listening mode today. Now this year also marks the 40th anniversary of our research and innovation framework programs. So it's a perfect moment to reflect on the past, present, and a tiny bit perhaps on the future, although there is that limit that I just alluded to. So on the one hand, we have come an incredibly long way. Looking back over the past 40 years, our framework programs have become beacons of excellence. Reference was made to the European Research Council already. They have significantly bolstered the EU's competitiveness and delivered many concrete solutions. There has been very clear EU added value. Collective efforts supported by European funding have delivered results that individual member states would not have been able to achieve alone. And by pooling resources, supporting collaboration and excellence-based competition, we build a critical mass of money and talent and avoid duplication of effort. This is the rationale. And our just completed ex post evaluation of Horizon shows that each euro spent under the framework program will ultimately bring at least €5 in benefits by 2040. There are some other lessons, obviously, from this ex post evaluation. We see scope going forward for simplification, for synergies of of the R&I framework program, first of all with other EU programs, enhancing those, but also further synergies with national and regional R&I policies. You mentioned the share of funding, 90% at national level, 10% at the EU. And then also there is the importance of giving access to excellence across all regions in the European Union. This is also an important factor going forward. Now, the program builds the scientific foundations that allow us to react faster, the consolidation of our research and innovation capacities with many, many scientific breakthroughs in fields such as medical science, quantum, chemical engineering, and composite materials, lays the foundations of our current and future strategic autonomy and resilience. This allows us to be prepared to react to emerging opportunities, but also to global socio-economic shocks and crises, and we have seen some very prominent examples of that during COVID. The program's scope is becoming increasingly important, and over time it focuses on directing EU investments where joint action matters most, in line with EU objectives and commitments. Priorities are now planned strategically together with stakeholders. For example, only EU-level action can overcome the thin distribution of millions of patients affected by rare diseases, or allow the EU to reinforce the positioning of its strategic value chains in future batteries, advanced materials, or hydrogen fuels. And of course, the framework program has over the decades brought important innovations in itself, and maybe the most notable one was the creation of the European Innovation Council, comprising the Pathfinder, Transition, and Accelerator. And in the view of the Commission, as well as in the view of many stakeholders, the EIC has been a major innovation and a success. So the EIC impact report that was published just last month makes this quite clear. There is a portfolio of deep tech companies worth over 70 billion euro, major investments in critical technologies for Europe, such as AI, quantum, space, and biotech, over 1,600 innovations with market potential, and over 100 investment rounds supported by the EIC Fund. The strength of the European innovation ecosystem is based on how many connections there are between researchers, startups, companies, regions, and investors. I would also like to point to what EIC Board President Michael Schäfer said in the EIC Impact Report, which captures one aspect in particular that is important about the EIC. He says at the micro level, it is about accompanying innovators along the entire journey to facilitate the transition from research to innovative entrepreneurship in deep tech. And this was a deliberate choice. This is also, at least when I listen to stakeholders, something for which the EIC is receiving widespread praise. So the fact that it spans the entire journey for the innovator. There could be other things be said. So you will have noticed that despite having read the paper that we're discussing today, I would still not hesitate to say that we are proud of the EIC and that we think that it was a key innovation in the proposal for Horizon Europe. Obviously, there was the pilot under Horizon 2020 before, and also to say that the EIC, in our view, has been calibrated to Europe's needs, and I'm sure that might open up a bit of a space for a discussion later on. At the same time, we do agree with the diagnosis of the report. So we all know that the EU is far behind its main partners and competitors in R&D investment, above all in private and business R&D. We also know that our R&D intensity has not budged and remains far below the 3% target. And I would say the paper also, in my view, argues quite convincingly that path dependency and the concentration of mid-tech sectors is definitely a key factor in this, although as a footnote in the expert meeting before, I heard also some challenges on that. Interested to hear, but I wouldn't be able to have come up with such an argument myself. Now, it's also a consensus between us, I think, that it will not be possible to change the status quo without public intervention. And there is even a stronger agreement, I think, that the status quo is simply not acceptable for Europe, and that much more will need to be done to untap our full potential. So here we all agree on these big picture aspects. At the same time, I think it is also important not to overlook some positive aspects and trends. It is clear that it will be challenging to build up capacity in technologies where we are currently clearly behind, and Professor Tirole listed them. At the same time, there is also clear progress, for example, in important infrastructures. Just one example, while none of the world's top 10 supercomputers were in Europe 10 years ago, today we boast 3. I would hope this is a trend. Also, the EU remains a leader in certain technologies, in particular green technologies. I also just saw a report this morning, I haven't had time actually to look into it in detail, that highlighted a number of positive aspects and trends regarding venture capital and in particular startup investment in Europe. So these are some elements where those more deeply involved in the academic study of innovation can perhaps also shed some light. Let me just mention a few priority areas for the Commission. There is broad consensus that we need to push ahead with the work towards a well-functioning capital markets union. It remains a fact that countries like the US, China, and others are real blocks in this regard, whereas European capital markets and instruments are still to some extent fragmented. This is an issue for innovation policy as well, of course. Several actions in our new European innovation agenda aim to address this concern, including the recently adopted Listing Act to facilitate listing for SMEs in the EU, or actions to incentivize institutional investors, such as pension funds and insurance funds, to invest cross-border in European venture capital. A more systematic procurement for innovation is another area where we need to leverage the demand-side potential in the single market to drive our innovative ambitions. And then there is also a clear demand to make the regulatory framework more agile and able to react to fast-paced technological change and innovation. This is why regulatory sandboxes and experimentation clauses are important, as we have done in a more stringent manner than ever before under the Net Zero Industry Act. One thing is very clear when looking at research and innovation policies in Europe over the long period of the 40 years of our framework programs, and that is that successful innovation policy depends on many factors that have to combine seamlessly, ideally. And the EIC is an extremely valuable instrument. It is great to have it. It is important to make it even more widely known. It is also great to look at ways to continuously improve it. This is work that is going on, obviously, and is being done by the EIC board and its president. But for a successful European innovation policy, we need a holistic approach that brings together the full range of EU policy instruments and funding programs, the Capital Markets Union, and all aspects of pro-innovative regulatory environment. And obviously, the calibration and the articulation between EU policies and national policies. So the report we're discussing today is highly welcome to us as the Commission. I see it as a stimulating contribution to a central debate, We need this kind of input to enrich the evaluation of our programs that are ongoing. I'm also certain that the next Commission will also welcome it as part of the debate on the future framework program. And if you, the authors of the report, have not already done so, I would encourage you to submit it to the expert group which is working on the midterm evaluation of Horizon Europe. I will leave it at that and raise perhaps a couple of questions on the report in the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Markus, for this wide-ranging comment. I noticed that you singled out also areas of improvement. And when one talks about improvement, the question is always at what speed. That is perhaps a question that Renilde Völkeles, who has been a long time discussing innovation and industrial policy in Europe, will dwell on. But before I give you the floor, Renilde, let me I have a nagging doubt. Just wanted to make one point. We are talking about EIC and ERC, and I have the suspicion many people in the room have never heard about or either of them. So one is the European Research Council, which is a big success, in which Renilde, Jean, and other people, which you don't see now, have been involved. And then there's the European Innovation Council, which is the more recent construction that has been the object of our analysis. The ERC, the Research Council, was a larger piece of the cake that Jean Tirole showed earlier. And you might remember still the EIC is a much smaller sliver on the upper left-hand corner. And you might ask yourselves, why be concerned with that sliver? But we think that it's still an important part of how innovation is being supported, fostered in Europe. And it is very important to try to find ways to improve that effort. And without further ado, Renilde, now the floor is yours. Thank you very much.